Far be it from me to beat you up with the same subject week after week. That's really not my thing. I tried to keep interesting content and subjects that are going on in my mind, but I'll tell you what, this cancer thing is hard to think about anything else. It is. And I say that to you because I feel like part of the reason that I am going through this is so that I'll understand. Because there are so many people who have lost people to cancer, who are dealing with the battle of cancer. It's prevalent in the world, every bit as prevalent as drug addiction. And so if I don't understand that and I don't have a heart for that, then how can I minister to the people God places in front of me? I can't. And so part of what's happening has to do with that. Yes, this is about my brother Buddy and his battle with cancer. I know that he's gone back and forth in some ways, but in another way, he's never gone back. I think he submitted to chemo because he was feeling pressured by the medical industry, by his wife. I mean, I'd say that, but not majorly, not like you've got to do this or our marriage is going to end. Or she is very supportive of whatever it is that Buddy chooses, that it's his life and that he should be able to choose that. And so, but still, it's the same with me. He goes, man, I don't feel supported by any of you guys. And I go, what do you mean? I'm supporting you. The thing about it is, if it's choosing between a natural, holistic way that you feel that God has shown to you, or chemotherapy that has worked over and over and over for people. And I don't mean any and every kind of chemotherapy, because there's lots of chemo that you have like a 3% chance of it healing you. No, that chemo is not the kind of chemo I'm talking about. I'm talking about there's many, many, many people who have lived 10 and 15 years longer after having this bone chemo or whatever it is. I'm sure I'm not calling it the right thing, but whatever this treatment they're trying to give Buddy is. But the thing about it is, as long as I've known my brother, and that's been my whole life because he's older than me, and there's had anything to do with holistic, or as soon as I heard of a hyperbaric chamber, my brother Buddy wanted to own one, and that was going to heal people, and this is who he is. So as I'm going to the Lord going, God, what do I do? How do I support my brother? How do I support my sister-in-law? What should I be praying for? What should I do? I feel like the Holy Spirit said to me, you've heard all you're going to hear from me about this. And I went, well, and then I feel like the Lord, revealed to me that this is not my battle. This is not my struggle. I don't get to hear clearly what should be done. That is between Buddy and God. And I have to trust God's ability to speak clear enough for Buddy to hear and to direct the circumstances so that he'll be forced into, not even forced into, but be sure of what God is instructing him to do. That's between God and Buddy. My job is to love Buddy, to believe that Buddy can hear from God, and to get on board with whatever he feels like God is saying to him. And so as hard as it is, because listen, I have always said I am an anti-chemo. I'll never do chemo, so I get it. But when it comes down to the rubber meeting the road between life and death, are you going to choose what you think is safer, or are you going to go with what your insides and your spirit man and your convictions have led you to believe? My brother has spent hundreds and hundreds of hours studying this kind of stuff. And so I have to trust that he has a broader spectrum to hear from God. If I don't know anything about the subject, how can I be sure if I'm hearing from God? I can't be. But this is not my subject to hear from God on. And I'm saying that to you guys, not just to tell you what's happening with my brother, because I want you to realize there are times in your life that your husband, your child, your neighbor, your grandson, whatever it may be, is hearing a specific thing. And you're going, Lord, I don't know what you're doing. This doesn't seem like you. I'm worried. What do I do? And it's silent. And that's when we have to realize it is not always our place to hear from God, and certainly not for someone else. If the person says, will you pray with me and tell me what God says to you, and they're open to that, and the Lord chooses to speak to you and give you something to say to them, then yes, absolutely. But if your sibling or family member says, listen, this is what God's saying for me to do about my body, then I have to respect that. You have to respect that. You have to say, if this is the person that you're choosing to marry and you feel that God has directed you to do that, then I'm going to support you in this marriage or in this divorce or in this new job or whatever it is. It isn't our job to micromanage other people's lives or to decide what God is or isn't saying to them. Our job is to love one another, to love the Lord with all of our heart, to support each other, to pray for each other, to encourage each other. That's what our role is. I don't want separation between my brother and I, especially during something like this. I'm going to support Buddy's decision to go the holistic route. It's going to cost an astronomical amount of money that he does not have. I did put out a fund me, not GoFundMe, but some other forum that takes less and the people are Christians and I don't know, but it's on Facebook. My mom actually put it together. And so if you feel led or, I've been surprised at how few people have responded to it at all. It's like as soon as you have somebody to give money, boy, they don't want nothing to do with it. But I've never, ever, ever, ever on any of my forums put anything about GoFundMe or needing help with this or needing help with that. I do a year-end letter for my nonprofit organization. I have to. It's not something I like to do, but you can't do nonprofit work without funding. And so, of course, I do that. But other than that, I've never put anything, and I've gotten hardly any response to this. It's okay. My feelings aren't hurt. I totally believe that God can and will supply what Buddy needs to go through. He's going to Tampa and he's going to a barometric pressure chamber. He's getting all kinds of holistic stuff that I really don't know enough about to tell you. But he has sworn off chemo. That's the end of that. He is not doing chemotherapy. I will say to you, if none of this works and he gets all the way to a place where he has no choice, I would like to think he would do chemo, but I really can't even promise you that. What I can promise you is my brother loves the Lord, and these are things that the Lord has been showing and teaching my brother for years now. And so I believe that there is a better way to cure cancer. I do believe that God has provided us everything we need for life and godliness. And so I believe there is a better way. And so it's amazing to me that my brother is willing to give his life to prove that chemotherapy is not the answer. And that really is what's happening. And I believe that God will heal him. And I believe that Buddy will live in my heart. But I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm saying all this to you just to let you know what my struggle is, what's happening with Buddy. I've gotten lots of questions about updates and what's happening. And so I don't want to leave you guys in the dark. But I also don't want to say what you should and shouldn't support. Look, God's at work. He's at work all the time in every circumstance. Sometimes he's going, just trust me and do what I say, whether it makes sense to you or not. And sometimes he's saying, this is what you're going to have to do. So do this. And sometimes he's saying, take a risk and do what you feel like I'm telling you to do, and I'll take care of the rest. It's up to us and our Christian family and the information that God gives us to decide what it is God's saying. But once we're sure God is telling us something, we have to stand in faith in that. And so that's what I'm going to do. And I love you guys, and I thank you for your support and your prayers during this very difficult time. Talk to you next week. God's plan works. Because you don't get where you're going unless you continue. I've been clean for 11 years. Wow. You can do it. It'll make a difference.